Welcome to Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast. Talking Grit is brought to you by the Monroe County Reporters, Monroe's top news source for police, fire, and community events.
Depot Street, truck boy intercept.
Follow them on Facebook, and for $2.99 a month, you can become a subscriber and get the news you crave even faster.
Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of Talking Grit. I'm Jason Harwood, and Jacob Litton is here as well. Another big divisional matchup. We got the Green Bay Packers, again, going for first place in the division, again. So I'm excited for this game. I expect the Lions to be ready. The Packers are for sure going to be ready. They don't want to lose in their own house again like they did last year. So it should be lots of fun. But we will have to wait an extra long time because it's going to start at 4:25. So we'll at least be able to watch the 1 o'clock games, and then we'll be the main show at 4:25. We got Tom Brady again. So that should be good.
Right where we belong. The main spotlight.
Just like we have done all season, we have an interview with Packers writer. This time it's Dusty Evely from the Acme Packers Company. I'm going to give a big shout out to Jeremy Reisman because he hooked us up. I was struggling a little bit to find the right person, and Jeremy hooked us up. So thank you, Jeremy Reisman. But before we get into this game, Jaymo's been in the news again. Let's talk about it. Jacob, what's your thoughts?
This was non-news for me. I mean, for us and fans, like people close to the team and everything like that, they've known about this issue already when it happened. It's really a non-issue. I mean, it seems like he didn't do anything illegal. He seemed like he was doing everything. They cooperated with the police. I know you watched the body cam footage and everything. I did not go to that length, but I read up on it and everything. I saw what he did and what. It doesn't sound like anything's going to happen from this. He's not going to be facing any more discipline from the NFL. It doesn't look like. Maybe they'll investigate what happened. I just think because of his reputation, because of the suspension that he just had, because of what he's had in the past, national media and everything are really quick to kind of jump on him and make it bigger than it is, make something out of nothing. That's how I feel about it. I feel like that's how most people around here feel about it. Do you feel the same way, or what are your thoughts?
When you said non-issue, that's what it is to me. This is just like, it's more of an annoyance than anything for me.
Right.
Like, I'm just like, why is this even a thing? I mean, if he loses some games because of this, yeah, I'll be mad about that. But I just think that people have to nitpick on things. And, I remember in training camp cheering for Jaymo. And then, the suspension happened, 2 weeks ago. We're never going to find out what the substance was based on what Dan Campbell said he had a rope analogy where during last year, the Lions threw down a rope to him, helped him get on the team and do the right thing after the suspension for the gambling. And Dan Campbell said something about he lost his grip on the rope. At the time when he said that, we didn't know anything about the gun situation. We thought it was referring to just the suspension. So I took it as Jaymo may have taken something or just slipped up. The team didn't seem too worried about it. But at the time, Dan's also referring to this. We just don't know. We just didn't know about this. It hadn't hit the news yet. I think it's stupid. He didn't do anything. I mean, yes, should he have a seat, concealed? If he's going to have the gun under the seat, he's got to have a concealed license. There's talk about, because his brother had one, Jaymo didn't do anything wrong. It covers every concealed weapon in the car. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know if that's true or not. I just hope that for the team's sake that he doesn't get suspended. These little things keep happening. So, I mean, I would give me pause about giving him a big contract extension, not just because of this incident, just because these little things just keep creeping up. And when you're going to invest $20 million, $25 million in a player per year, him losing 2 games, 3-4 games each year, that starts to add up. So I could see that would be a factor in a contract extension. But as far as like this year, this team right now, it's just next man up. It's like an injury. He's out for a couple of games. Let's keep going. This thing is just social media fodder to me.
Right. I mean, you made a good point about the contract situation too. Regardless of why he has missed games, he has missed games. It's come up. He hasn't been there. If you're talking about his production level and everything like that, I mean, that, his ability is definitely, he's a great player. He's somebody we want on the team. His production and everything that he's been doing doesn't necessarily warrant a massive contract like that. We don't know, do they pick up the 5th-year option? Do they try to work out another extension or something with him ahead of time? Who knows? This definitely doesn't help his case there. But yeah, in this particular instance, I mean, there's so many worse things that come up. There was no car accident. Nobody was injured. He had no illegal substances on him. There's just so many different things you hear about that are way worse and way bigger news. It just feels like they're searching for a story, and that was the easy one for them to get.
I agree. And, I just think if you or I were pulled over in that same situation, I'm in the car with you, I have a gun under the seat. No one, it's not a big deal because,
Jason's musket's underneath the seat.
That's right. Yeah. Hey, man, don't knock my musket.
All right. His Civil War era bayonet.
Hey, it's okay. Bayonet. Nice one. I like that.
Thanks.
Deep cut. All right. I just think it's just stupid. It just keeps happening to the same guy. If it was a different teammate, would have maybe been a slight headline and moved on. But this made ESPN's front page. But a warrant issued for, out for him. I don't think it's for his arrest necessarily. I don't know. And it just seems like it wasn't a big deal until like the news got a hold of it, and then they inquired, why did Jaymo get off without being arrested? And like, why do we have to push that issue? I don't get it.
That was the first, it was Detroit news originally, where it was just like, they're investigating why, he wasn't arrested or why he wasn't detained or whatever. And then ESPN and TMZ and all these other places. And, I feel bad for Jaymo. I feel like it should have, been very small, minor, let's work this out in the background. It's not,
Yeah. And he was right up with the team, told him it's not a Cam Sutton situation where Cam didn't tell anybody about this. I mean, from what the lines reported and what, I trust what Dan Campbell said, that this happened October 8th. He told them about it right away. They went on their business. So just happened to coincide with the suspension. If he wouldn't have been suspended, would this have been an issue too? I don't know, but it's just unfortunate it keeps happening to him. He seems like a good kid. It just, there might be a maturity thing. As he gets older, hopefully he grows out of it.
At the same time, I mean, if we're being honest, if you're talking about someone rich driving through the cities of Detroit, it's not a terrible idea to have your, have a registered weapon and just keep yourself protected.
Yep.
He wasn't out flashing it on Instagram and, John Morant and doing different things. He wasn't firing off rounds. It wasn't, there's just so many worse situations it could have been that just, it's crazy to me.
Yeah. Well, you're right. I mean, but also you could also say just get your CPL license and then you don't have to worry about it at all. So, I mean, it's just another thing.
Right.
That,
right.
If he had that.
He was halfway there.
Yeah.
Right.
No, he's halfway there. And hopefully, it just doesn't result in a suspension or anything like that.
If that results in an extended suspension, I'll be furious based on the other incidents that have had in the offseason to other teams that have not resulted in any time.
Yeah, the other...
Obviously, the substance thing, you can't really avoid that one.
Mm-hmm.
Like you already said, we don't know what it is. We can't speak on that. It doesn't matter. But, that's just the rules. You have a substance like that, you're suspended. That's pretty cut and dry. Some of these other things, you got the Rashee Rice incident, and there's just countless other. Jabril Peppers right now is just on the exempt list because of crazy, terrible things. Sounds like he did, if that's true.
Let's get done talking this Jaymo nonsense and let's get on to this game. Let's talk about the impact players. You want to go through those?
Yeah, impact players for the Green Bay Packers. Start off with quarterback Jordan Love, NFL top 100, number 34. He's Pro Football Focus, number 20 quarterback. Defensive end Rashawn Gary was voted NFL top 100, number 50. He's actually Pro Football Focus, number 49 defensive end right now. Then you have a lot of top 10 Pro Football Focus players. Running back Josh Jacobs as number 7. Offensive tackle Zach Tom, number 8. Both safeties. Evan Williams is rated number 5. Xavier McKinney is rated number 3. You have linebacker Eric Wilson is rated Pro Football Focus number 3. And then you have cornerback Jair Alexander is rated Pro Football Focus number 14. A lot of impact players on this Green Bay team. And, a lot of very highly rated on Pro Football Focus. It's also worth mentioning, I know Jordan Love is hurt right now. Malik Willis has started a few times for him already this year. Malik Willis is actually rated number 13 on Pro Football Focus and quarterback rankings. So he's actually outperformed Jordan Love in the few starts that he's had, according to those Pro Football Focus numbers.
Yeah, I think that's crazy. I mean, they're both more rated than Jared Goff. It's crazy. I don't know, how they come up with those numbers sometimes, but yeah.
It's got to just be the rushing angle.
I'm sure it is.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Yep.
Is the value they provide rushing.
Well, and also he's, Malik hasn't thrown an interception either, whereas Jordan's thrown a few, so I'm sure that adds into it.
Right.
All right. Packers are coming into this game 6-2. They are currently 3rd in the NFC North. Their schedule has been it's similar to ours, but they've had, a big game with the Texans, which they beat the Texans in week 7, 24-22. They just beat the Jaguars 30-27. They did lose to the Vikings at home 29-31, but at one point that game was 28-0. And then they lost to the opening game 29-34 to the Eagles, but they beat the Colts, the Titans, the Rams, Cardinals, Texans, and Jaguars.
A lot of close games.
Yep. A lot of close games. So we'll see. I expect this one to be close too.
For sure.
All right. Injury report. Quite extensive for both teams. We'll start out with the Lions. Lions had a ton of people just resting. The Lions rested all their big boys again. So like Taylor Decker did not practice. Graham Glasgow did not practice. Levi Anzarike did not practice. Frank Ragnow did not practice. DJ Reader got rest. And Kevin Zeitler got rest. Those were all pretty much rest. They have chest marked for Taylor Decker, but I think from based on what Dan Campbell said, they're all just getting like a veteran rest day, all the big boys. Jared Goff did not practice today due to an ankle. Sione Vaki did not practice due to a knee. And so Josh Paschal was defensive line, still has not practiced, and that's due to the cancer treatment thing that he had to go through. So we don't know exactly what's going on there. But on the positive note, Broderick Martin practiced today, full practice. They started his 21-day window so they could take him off the injured reserve list. I don't expect anything this game. They'll probably use that unless there's an injury that forces them to come back early. They'll probably 21-day window, and they'll decide in 3 weeks what they're going to do with him.
For sure.
All righty. Jacob, you want to go through the Packers list here?
Yeah, Packers also with an extensive list. They didn't have anybody listed out just to rest, though. Go right through here. They have a lot of starters, actually, for them. So Jair Alexander did not practice, knee injury. Josh Jacobs did not practice. Elgton Jenkins, Jordan Love, Josh Myers, Rasheed Walker, safety Evan Williams. These are all starters and high-profile players for them, and none of them got into practice. They did have cornerback Corey Ballantyne, defensive line Kenny Clark, both got in limited practices. Quay Walker, the linebacker that's been out for a concussion, he got in a full practice, so it looks like they're going to have him back. And then Devontae Wyatt, defensive lineman, also had limited practice. So, the Packers are pretty banged up right now. They do have a bye week coming up, so it'll be interesting to see, how they decide to manage these injuries versus, it's an important game that they're playing right now against us. So they need this win, but they also need these guys further on in the season. So it'll be interesting to see, who plays and who doesn't. Obviously, it's only Wednesday right now, so there'll be more information as the week goes on. I know Josh Jacobs, they're pretty sure that he's going to play even though he didn't practice. That would be a huge loss for them if he did not.
Yep. What did Eldon Jenkins, what was he out on the injury report for?
His butt hurts.
Yeah, his glute. I've never seen glute on the injury report. He's all butt hurt. Yeah,
I was gonna look into that. Like, that happened in the game. What
you want to see where he's. You talk about me with big, strong men. You're like, I want to see where his butt got hurt. All right,
not where it got hurt. How
okay.
attributing that to a glute?
All right, all right.
Did you pull your glute muscle on a block? I don't. What? You sat down on it wrong.
I know.
He's 300 pounds. I don't know.
He might have sat on the bench too hard. I don't know. Got down. Now that'd be a hell of a way to hurt yourself. All right. Offensive rankings. PFF has the Packers offense rated 16th in the league. As far as points per game, they're 6th in the league. The Lions are number 1. Just to throw that out there. The Packers get a lot of yards. They're 5th in yards per game, 9th in passing yards, and 2nd in rushing yards per game. Stopping Josh Jacobs is going to be a test this game. That's for sure. How are they looking defensively, Jacob?
Defensively, Pro Football Focus ranks them number 17 overall on defense. Points per game, they are ranked 11th. Total yards per game, 15th. Their passing defense in terms of yards per game is ranked 19th. Their rushing yards per game is ranked 10th. So the defense looks, a little bit better than they did last year, especially their run defense being top 10. They've got a big test for them with our running backs coming to town, though.
Yes, they do. All right. I think it's about time to get to our interview. It's with Dusty Evely from the Acme Packers Company. He does various other things on podcasts and all sorts of things. So he'll talk about that in his interview. Hope you enjoy it. We enjoyed talking with Dusty. He was a super fun guy. Something that you guys won't hear, but we found out afterwards, he's actually from Detroit, and he's a huge Tigers fan. So we connected on that, and it was great to hear that from him. So without further ado, we'll get to Dusty's interview. We want to welcome Dusty Evely from the Acme Packing Company. He covers the Packers. Thanks for joining us. Really big mid-season game coming up here. Are you hyped? I know we are.
Yeah, I'm hyped. I'm excited to have these games mean something. First of all, thank you for having me. Very excited to talk to you guys. It's cool that both these teams are good. It lends a little something to this game. I am currently there's a handful of Packers players, fairly prominent Packers players, that the status for the game is in doubt a little bit. So I am slightly worried about this game, if I'm being honest with you. But no, I'm excited. Any division, I think this is the first. No, we played the Vikings. Second divisional game so far this year. I'm excited about it, if a little worried.
Yep. So my first question's a simple one: is this the game of the week, the Packers Lion game, or is it the other tough game? Is Carolina New Orleans? Is it this one or that one? Where would you vote?
You're talking to a man who the only thing I love more than like really good football is just the worst quarterback play you've ever seen in your life. Like if you get just a game where both guys combine for 7 completions, that's my dream. So I could go either way, man. I could really go either way. Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to pick this one, right? I mean, this is it's in division. Both these teams are looking really, really good right now. So it's one of those could go either way in terms of I think either team could potentially run away with it. I'm hoping for a very close game, but I think it's hard to pick anything other than this as game of the week this week.
Yeah. Speaking of bad quarterback play, you're talking to a team that we had Ty Detmer who threw 7 interceptions in a game to the Browns. Okay. So we know about bad quarterback play, but yeah. So yeah, I think you're right. It's going to be a good game. Dan Campbell said today that it's going to come down to the fourth quarter. And, someone's going to make a mistake. And whoever doesn't make that error, they're probably going to come out on top. And both these teams love getting turnovers, right? I mean, the Packers lead the league in turnovers. Lions are not far behind. And, yeah, it's going to have to be
the
careful.
Safeties alone, right? Between McKinney and Branch. And I guess Kirby Joseph's having a good year too, right? Like, they're just the safeties alone are just nabbing every ball that comes their way, dude. It's insane.
Yeah, that's funny because that was one of the question I was going to ask you. The safety combos in this are great. So we have Branch and Joseph. You have Evan Williams and Xavier McKinney. I mean, picking between that grouping is tough.
Yeah, Williams has been a bit of a surprise. And he was injured last week, so he missed I think the second half of that game, maybe more than the second half. I think he left in the second quarter, and that kind of switched how the Packers play defense. I'm curious. The word on him, they've not said for sure if he's playing. It sounds they're optimistic he'll play. If not, it'll probably be Bullard back there is who subbed in for him last game. He didn't look quite as good. That's another rookie. Yeah, Williams has been a revelation, and McKinney was one of those top free agent target. He's going to be great for this Halfley scheme. Packers had like no playable safeties in the offseason. Who are they going to get? He's been worth every penny so far. Like not just the interception, but how he plays the run, how he breaks up passes. If you just watch the, the all 22, the coaches film, and just watch Xavier McKinney, the ground that he covers, his instincts, you could say the same thing for Branch. Like both those guys are playing at such a high level right now in terms of anticipation, closing speed, all that stuff. It's been just an absolute delight to watch McKinney, and Williams has been, what was it, 5th round pick, I think. That was the question, who's going to start beside McKinney this year. Williams has just taken that job. Williams has been just absolutely insane. So I hope he can play, because that's been a great pairing.
In the NFL,
sure,
there's been a devaluing of the safety position just around the league. Justin Simmons was out on the market for a while. And, our teams, like, getting a lot of turnovers, were showing the value of having a really good safety back there. So, not that I want to talk up the contract, because Kirby Joseph is going to have to sign one in a couple of years here. I don't want to make them more expensive, but our team, I know from my experience, and I imagine for years, that the Lions would be in a lot different position had Kirby Joseph's back there. I mean, he's had 5 interceptions, I believe, and 4 of them have been in the end zone. The other teams in the, taking away a scoring chance, and those games go a different way if they don't get those picks. And I don't know where Xavier McKinney's been for all his 6, but they're game changing. Turnovers are obviously game changing plays.
Yeah, he had a fair catch interception against Anthony Richardson, who was just hucking and chucking. He had a one that fell into his lap against Levis. For the most part, like he's working. Like he's caught him all different areas of the field. I don't know. He didn't have one in the end zone. He had one at like the 2-yard line that saved against the Vikings. That kind of helped him get back in that game. So McKinney's been all over the place, dude.
It's awesome.
He's making the Giants offseason look very bad. On top of him and Saquon, just what a fumble! Like they really screwed that up.
That also would be that's like parking the Miata next to a trailer, right? Like if McKinney's still on that Giants team and just light it up, and the team is just hot garbage. Like he's right. So someone get him out of there. So selfishly, I am happy he got away from it.
Right. I'm sure he was dying to get out of there.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's stick on the defense. You got a new defensive coordinator, Jeff Halfley. We know we switched from 3-4 to 4-3. What else are we seeing what are you seeing that's different this year compared to, last year and previous years under Joe Barry?
They're good. So that's a good change up. They care about stopping the run, and they've been pretty good at it. I will say their pass rush has suffered. I think part of that's been Rashawn Gary's not been great. They're trying to win with 4 under Barry. They play a lot of 5-man lines. It's basically like 4-man stand up edge rusher guy. Under Halfley here, a lot of single high, but about the same they did under Barry. Just the linebacker play is a lot better. Quay Walker, I don't know what Quay's going to do this week, if he's going to play. He's been injured. He got a concussion in the Texans game. Eric Wilson stepped in. Wilson's looked great. 1st-round pick Edgerrin Cooper's been incredible at linebacker. I think some of that's due to coaching, some of that's just due to that dude he plays. That's a different speed that man plays at than everyone else. And a lot of the sim pressure stuff, he didn't do it too much against the Jags, but they tried to win early in the season with 4 down man rushes, and they can't do it. Like they don't have, Gary hasn't been Gary. Preston Smith is washed. Kenny Clark hasn't been doing quite as well as he had been doing. Devontae Wyatt was coming on, then he got injured. So he kind of started living more in like some of the stuff you see in Flores. I mean, not exactly, but a lot of 7-man lines. You drop a lot of guys out to play that hook. Edge Cooper had a play this past week that he was starting mugged up over the center and then carried a wide receiver up the pipe and broke up a pass 30 yards down the field. Wow. So they're running a lot of the sim pressure stuff to try to get guys free, a lot of twists and stunts. I think their blitz numbers are not super high, but they're doing a lot of 4-man rushes out of 7-man lines. So it's a blitz without showing as a blitz on the numbers. And that stuff Barry, like, I don't know if he knew how to do that. There was none, like Barry was very safe. That's what I guess I'll say. Barry was very safe. Kind of sit back, rally and tackle, and then they weren't very good at tackling. Whereas Halfley is more attacking. And so you've got more chances for explosive plays against Halfley, especially when he does bring pressure. He likes to bring pressure on 3rd down. If you can block that up. But they're also creating turnovers. And I know some of that's luck, like some of that's bound to come back down, but there's an aggressiveness that they're playing that they did not play under Barry. And then you combine that with some of the sim pressure world he was living in for about 3 or 4 games, pretty heavy up until his pass game. They didn't do it too much against the Jags. it's something we didn't see under Barry. So it's a creativity and just aggressiveness to this team, kind of at all levels of defense, that we just were not seeing. And if Barry was here again this year, even with a guy like Edger and Cooper, it would not look like it is now. It was to be that kind of passive approach. So it's a more attacking approach, which is, I mean, again, turnovers are lucky. That's part of the game, but they're also not lucking into them, if that makes sense. Like they are, you got Edge Cooper at a sack fumble, like they're punching at the ball. You got McKinney driving. You've got some really tight coverage. Jair's had probably his best year in the past 3 seasons. Like they're playing good, solid, sound defense while also kind of pressuring you up front of it.
Luck favors the prepared, right?
Yeah, Barry didn't know what that meant.
Yeah. You have great luck when you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, the Lions for a while, you know, that's what we were doing too, is sending 4 a lot just because we had Hutchinson. So that was kind of like sending 5.
Well, I was
we've
gonna
had
say,
to make adjustments there, but
yeah, if you can win with 4, I mean, do it. And I think like everyone wants to do that. And they're like, oh, we can't do this. I mean, yeah, the Lions, it's been interesting to see life after Hutchinson here because he was that wrecking crew. You could do that. You just, once you lose that, and that was supposed to be Gary's going to be the dude, everyone will rally around him, and Gary hasn't done it this year. So they just had to get creative with it.
right.
Yeah, I as a someone that watches a lot of football, I tend to stick in the more aggressive standpoint and dictate what you want and just take the mistakes that happen, because it's either you die by 1,000 paper cuts by just letting someone dink and dunk all over the field, or you get that turnover. Every personnel, every team, will have to judge on themselves on how to do that. But to me, I'd take the more aggressive approach, almost all the time, just because I want to dictate that, and I'll take the mistakes that happen at the other end, because you're hoping for the big turnover play. If the turnover happens, those are game changers. Those were, that's how you win. That's how you can win a game or steal a game that maybe you don't have a business of winning. So I don't like those type of defense. That's like where you get the Flores defense. I don't like playing against those because you don't know where the rush is going to come from. You have to have a well-prepared team, and I'm thankful that the Lions have the offensive line that they do, that they can, they have the experience and the talent to do that. And I think that's why the Lions fare pretty well against the Vikings, but not all teams can do that. I mean, I don't know what happened in the first half of your game, because it was like the Vikings just came out and just bull rushed, and then you guys came storming back in the second half. So my assumption is that, that it just, I watched a little bit of the game, but not fully, but I'm assuming that, you just get behind the turnover bug, and then all of a sudden they're putting 28 up on you real quick.
Yeah, it was some drops, some poor decisions, some bad interceptions. I think one bad throw, but a couple others are kind of misreads or guys running wrong. And then it was just, and I think that's one of the other things with Halfley. I think aside from this past week against the Jags, I don't think they had given up a touchdown in the second half of a single game this year. Like, so for the most part, their second half, and they've not played the strongest of teams. I guess they played the Texans, a couple weeks ago, and then the Texans are struggling a bit, but they held them down to 3 points in the second half. So for the most part, I think it's been 3 to 6 points per second half, up until the Jags. Jags put up 14 on them, but the second half defense has been really, really good. And then, the offense came to life against the Vikings there when they finally figured out what they were doing and blocked it up, and Love stopped just like hucking to the heavens. But yeah, it would have been nice to get some points there early, but they've been good second half for sure.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Jacob.
All right. So next question, we're going to swing around to the offense. So Jordan Love may or may not play in this game. We're not sure yet. It sounds like he wants to go, but are you confident in Malik Willis's ability to run the offense? I know he's had a couple starts already. How do you feel about that?
I feel good about the pairing of him and LaFleur. He's done. He came in that first game when he started that first game, because he came in like with 2 plays in the Eagles game, and he tried to throw a quick out and it was incomplete. Then he went to throw the Hail Mary and it was a disaster. But then he started that next game, and it was kind of one of those, what offense are they going to run? That was the question about LaFleur coming into that game, because they had obviously the Love game. The first time we really saw Love, the first Love start, was Rodgers had COVID. They didn't find out till Wednesday. That was a couple years ago against the Chiefs, and they just kept the same game plan in. And then Love was bad. Spagnuolo blitzed him like 70% of the time, and he was like, "That's on me. I should have prepared a little better." So it was kind of can LaFleur do that? What's the game plan look like? What does the Malik Willis package look like? At that point, he had been in camp, or he'd been in town less than 3 weeks. He started that game. the offense looked entirely different. I mean, there was some core stuff that was different. Their run game, they were running single wing stuff. It was a whole package. It was a whole game plan of stuff that they ran with Willis that we never saw under Love. And then they play the Titans the next week. That was a better defense. How do they do this? And they had more switch ups. They were still running some of their core stuff, but they were running. Their run game was really creative, and the pass game was creative enough off of that. And then I think what they've told Malik Willis is you get 1 to 2 reads. And if those guys are not screaming wide open, you tuck it and run. Like, we don't want to, whatever you do, don't turn the ball over. We can take losses. We can punt the ball. The punter is just an absolute monster. Like, we'll take a sack on 3rd and 6 rather than an interception across the middle. So he's been very careful with the ball. I think that's been a coaching point. And they've been, again, very creative. We've seen some of those things creep up even when with Love under center. But the run game is very creative. And then they find very creative ways to work the passing game off of that as well. So we've seen it for 2 games. He came in this past game against the Jaguars. This was one. He played a quarter and a half, no prep, hadn't taken reps in 2 weeks because he hadn't been starting. And he was ready to go. And they had a package of plays. They had their big play that essentially won the game for them. They kind of not worked up on the sideline, but apparently it was not in the game plan. They were just like, hey, here's a look that's doing, Malik. We know you can do this and this works well with you. We're going to put this in. And so I think that the coaching staff is very smart. And it seems like they've been working with Willis very well. And Willis knows how to run this offense. So, I mean, I mean, we talked about the safeties. I wouldn't be shocked if the ball is put in harm's way a couple of times. If the Lions, I think that's the big thing is if the Lions can stop the run, and again, Packers are very creative with the run game. They got a triple option package under Willis that they don't show you with Love. They've got an vertical RPO package that they've got with Willis. They don't show you with Love. So it is going to be some new stuff that you don't really see typically from the Packers offense. If they can slow down the run and they force Willis to pass, we saw him in the Titans game. Like, he had like a 3rd and 18 that he's just pinning a ball on a dude 25 yards down the field. Like, he's got an arm. He can be erratic. The more times you can get him to drop back in a true drop back, the more chances he will eventually make a mistake. But if they can stay in their game script, like, they want to run it. Josh Jacobs has been incredible. The offensive line has been very good in the run game. So they will be content to have him drop back less than 20 times and run the ball 45 times if they have to. Like, they will be happy to live in that world. But if they have to break out of that a little bit, Willis has shown he can do it. I have faith in him and the coaching staff, but he will put the ball in harm's way more than Love. Probably more than Love, like on a percentage basis, but he's not going to be throwing it as much. But I do like what they do with Willis under center.
It's funny how the offense does run like completely differently between the two, but I mean, it's effective. It, speaks volumes to the coaching staff, how effective that it is when they have their backup quarterback in. I mean, it's been very impressive.
Well, especially again for a guy that'd been there 3 weeks. Like that was okay. Now I thought they'd have a package of 5 plays. They had a full game. Like here's a whole bunch of like spinner package you've not seen since like the 1920s. We're going to run this at you. Yeah. And then we're going to have variations off of this at you that you you never saw with Jordan Love. It's wild that they're able to teach that stuff. It's a lot of fun. So honestly, this game, I'm almost leaning Willis starting. They seem, I think Love said today, it's realistic he will play. They've been real cagey about that stuff, even the 2 weeks that Willis started. I kind of get the feeling Willis is starting this week, but I just the nature of groin injuries in the bye week coming up, that feels like the way this is going, but I'm not sure.
Well, also, I'm kind of thinking, from a Lions perspective, I kind of rather have a sort of hobbled Love that didn't practice all week playing the game rather than a rested, healthy Willis. That's the way I look at it as a Lions fan. I'd like to see Love, especially if he can't run as well. If he's got a groin injury, obviously he's not going to be able to scramble as well. And Willis, that's like you said, 2 reads and you tuck it and run because he, get some positive yardage. So, yeah. You mentioned Josh Jacobs. His stats are impressive this year. I've watched a lot of the runs. I've watched all of his runs that he had over 10 yards just earlier today. Okay. And the blocking schemes, I was super impressed with that because if you go to PFF grades, your offensive line is not very highly rated, but right. I just liked how they created gaps and Jacobs, the way he was running, a lot of it was out of shotgun too, which I was surprised. There was a lot of 10-yard plus runs out of shotgun. So tell us what you're seeing there with Josh Jacobs and, anything that we're missing as Lions fans.
Yeah, their run game is really fun. They'll do a lot of stuff. Like I said, out of shotgun, but they mix up how they do it. They do their shotgun 5 yards back. They'll do some split gun stuff. They used to have 2 running backs back there. They tried that a lot with Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. It didn't work. They've revived that package, and it's Josh Jacobs and usually Jaden Reed back there. So you got a wide receiver back there. But they'll also do like pistol runs out of shotgun where you've got, because a lot of times they'll have like even under center, their running back will be 10 yards back. So they'll have their quarterback 5 yards back. They'll have the running back 3 to 5 yards behind him. So it looks like pistol, but it's really kind of shotgun run stuff. And I mean, yeah, to your point, the grading stuff on PFF on the offensive line, it's not always great, but they've built this line. I think one of the reasons they built the way they did is all these dudes can move, like every single one of them. They for years, LaFleur's dream was, I want to get out of the wide zone world to some extent, and I want to get into more gap scheme, more power, more polar stuff like that. And he never could. They kept having dudes get injured, and so they kind of settled on a middle ground where the tight end would go in. I've seen it called escort motion. We'll go into like kind of short motion under the line. They'll snap it like around the time he gets to the center, and then he'll effectively work as a puller. So you get a puller without having a pull. So it's like wide zone with a puller. They're still doing that stuff, but they'll do it with at least 1 or 2 pulling guards. And so you've got, I mean, along that line, Rasheed Walker, who's a little hobbled, so he's not moving too much. They don't do too much of that stuff to his side. Jenkins can move in space. Josh Myers, for all of his faults in pass pro, can move. Sean Ryan has turned out a really good mover this year. And then Zach Tom is just a tremendous mover. And so they've got 5 guys who could pull. You got Tucker Kraft, who's just the most lunatic of the lunatic tight end. Like just, I guess, not the most because George Kittle's still in the league, but he's tick behind that. But that man wants to hit people. And then you've got they'll run some 2-back stuff with 1 back at a split gun where Josh Jacobs will be a lead blocker. And then you've got Jaden Reed or Bo Melton with the ball running a sweep. They do a lot of like when they like to hit the edges, it's a lot of pin pull stuff. Their receivers are really good blockers. So you have like Christian Watson, who for my money, one of the best blocking wide receivers in the league, pinning the edge. He's lined up usually in a tight split. He'll pin the edge. They pull Zach Tom around. You motion Tucker Kraft. He's leading the block. And now you've got Josh Jacobs on the edge with a lane. It looks like old school Lombardi stuff out of shotgun with a tight end puller. So they have a lot of really interesting ways to get to their run stuff. They get more creative with it. As I said, under Willis, they will do a lot more misdirection, a lot of fake counter stuff. They don't do a lot of designed runs with Willis, but they fake a lot of designed run stuff with Willis. So you get a lot of kind of this counter stuff where then you're sending the running back through where their pullers just were. They just a very creative scheme, I think they have for running. Something LaFleur has been trying to get to for 4 years now. That finally seems like this year is really coming to fruition. And you got the entire team bought in. And for their flaws in pass pro, I do think they're a little weaker in pass pro. All these dudes can move. So you don't know when they're pulling. You're not entirely sure what side they're going to. You don't know if it's a run or a pass because all those guys can pull. A lot of misdirection. That's been my favorite part of the Willis starts, has just been, all right, what's this run game going to look like? And they've got the dudes that do it. And it seems like everyone's bought in. It's been a lot of fun. And that does seem like how they're going to lean into. Now I will say against the Titans, that second game Willis started, they came out with a pin pull look. The entire defense bit, and then they hit Jaden Reed leaking out the other way for like 30 yards. So they're very good at like looking at like leaning against their tendencies as well with this run game stuff. But it's been, they've been very creative. All those guys really strong at the point of attack. And I think Tucker Kraft is probably central in some of that evolution this year.
So what you're saying is we need to, get Matt LaFleur out of the division is what you're saying if we want to have success. I don't.
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
Yeah, our coaching staff is different, obviously, than yours, just the vibe or whatever. But I totally respect Matt LaFleur. I think that I think he had a good plan in the Thanksgiving Day game last year and just took it to the Lions right away. He's, even if the Packers aren't as talented or whatever, I just know that they're going to put up a good game. I want Mike McCarthy back. We have him back?
Plus, he's going to be looking for a job after this year, so maybe. Maybe.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. He probably will. All right, Jacob, you want to ask the next one, or you want me?
All right, here we go. So we're interested to hear your opinion about this. So the quarterbacks for both of our teams, obviously, both signed huge contract extensions this year. So first, I guess we'll say, what was your perspective as a Packers fan? What was your perspective of a Goff contract when he re-signed?
I think he's earned it. Goff has his flaws, so I think I got some jokes off because he does need. he's in a perfect environment right now. Like they've got, the skill position players, especially receivers, I think could be better. But Amon-Ra is great. Laporte is great. The line is great. I mean, and to his credit, he's been very good against the blitz this year. But that's one of those if/when Ben Johnson ever leaves, what does he look like with a guy who's not like just an absolute master at drawing this stuff up? So I think what he's done is great. They obviously they didn't have a plan, like a concrete plan to follow him up. I don't think. I mean, I live in SEC country. I watched Hooker at Tennessee. Hooker was never going to be the answer, regardless of kind of what they thought or maybe things they said. So I certainly got my jokes off at Goff's expense when they signed that. But he's been good for them. He's been good for that team. So I think, I mean, eventually that stuff fades. And there certainly are flaws that you can pick at with him. But he's been top 15, top 10 quarterback with you pay guys like that. Like he's been good for them. I would like to see Ben Johnson not like to see in the division. Like I don't really want to see this, but if you get like a dual threat, a guy who can move a little bit more, I think it opens up a lot more of what you can do. So I think you can be more creative. You can be more explosive with a dude who can move a little more than Goff can. But I mean, they've maximized what he can do. He's been great for them in that culture. So I'm happy for him that he got that. And I think ultimately that probably ages somewhat poorly, but for now it's looking really, really good.
All right. And then we're going to, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, we're going to flip it over. Love signed a big contract. So what was your feeling at the time when he signed that? And has it changed, this far? I know it's really early, so I don't think it's going to big change, but and I guess your personal feelings, Dusty, and then like the Packer Nation in a whole, like I'd like to get a gist of what they're feeling.
I mean, everyone loves love. I think there was some when he signed the deal, we all knew it was coming. That was a big talking point in the offseason because of what he did, especially down the back stretch. And like beyond that too, they drafted him first round. They traded up. Now they didn't trade up, I don't think specifically for him. It's just the receivers they wanted did not fall. That was Jefferson, Ayuk, and all those guys. And so they took him because they didn't think they were going to be a chance to take anyone else. They fostered him for 3 years. They grew him. He came out his first year as a starter, especially down the back half of the year, especially we did against the Cowboys in the playoffs. They weren't going to not pay him. Like this was the best. They didn't have a plan, first of all, if he failed. If they didn't pay him, they didn't have a backup. They had Sean Clifford, who as a rookie was older than Jordan Love in his 4th year in the league. Like, so they weren't, that was not a realistic plan. So like it was all going to be, okay, they're going to pay him. It's going to be big money. I was excited. I will say, a little nervous just because of what he did down the back half was so good. You knew it couldn't be that good all the time. That being said, if you watched him, because I watched him at college and then kind of all through what little you could see from his career, you could see he put in the work. Like he was in spreadiest of spread Utah State, 0 footwork, 0 real reads. It was all like, that man is open, I will throw to that man. It was all like sight adjust stuff. There was no footwork. He had the first year was the COVID year. He couldn't really do a whole lot there. And then you watch him when he came in against the Eagles the previous year, and like he knows what he's doing. Like eyes are in the right place. Footwork is great. This is a guy who will probably take chances, and he does. But ultimately, like the process is good, and he will be good more often than not. The going rate for quarterbacks, I'm fine paying a guy like that. Now I will say he's not been as good this year in terms of like efficiency. Some of those are a little off because there have been quite a few drops. Wicks and Reed have had just bricks for hands at times. Dobbs will have the occasional drop. But I also think they still lead the league in explosives. Like, and that's almost at this point where I'm living at this point in the league they're going to force you to run. At this point, teams are like, we'll sit back. That's cool. Sit back. We'll see if you get bored running 6 times a game. You have to take some chances to create explosives. And he's doing that. Now, to his detriment, sometimes I think he hunts those a little bit. But I'd rather have a guy like that with that mindset than a guy who's just going to throw 5 yards every single time. So I think, just general consensus of Packers fandom, I think everyone was thrilled when he signed it, not just for what he gave you when everyone's coming off the high of the Cowboys game. We forget the Niners game happened, which was not all on him. But everyone was happy because he seems like a good dude. He'd sat there for 3 years behind Rodgers. You never heard a peep out of him. He seems like a legitimately good person. We want to see him. We want to keep him in Green Bay. We want to see him get paid. I think there's been a little nervousness among some people, but I think most people are still on board with who he is and what he's doing. We live with Favre for years. If this guy wants to sling and throw the occasional interceptions, sometimes it's going to look bad, and then sometimes it's going to look really, really good. So I think at this point, especially after Dak got the big money, and now we can all just laugh at Dak. I think we're all fine with a Love contract at this point.
Well, I mean, you got Trevor Lawrence signed a big contract too, so you got that one to laugh at a little bit too, man. Oh man.
Yeah, I was gonna say but look at them, laugh at them, don't look at us, look at them.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was just surprised, I guess, from the angle of how the Packers usually, they're not big, chance takers, and they hardly ever spend in free agency, and then they go out, they get Josh Jacobs and cut ties with Aaron Jones, and then they, really, I mean, you're paying, from my perspective, you're paying, Love based on the last half of last season, and it was a really good last half of last season, but essentially that's like 10 games that you're paying him. That's a lot of money, and for the Packers, they don't take a lot of risks with that kind of stuff. So I was surprised that they did that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other part, I mean, they're looking forward. Like do we think he's going to do that the last 10 games? No, but do we believe he's the guy going forward? And these deals, I mean, you've seen this 1,000 times at this point. In 2 years, it's going to look like a bargain because the cap is shooting up. And so what looks like a lot of money now in 2 years will be like, he's the 15th highest paid quarterback in the league. Like, okay, all right, I'm fine with that now. So I think eventually it all evens out. I think they do hope for really big things from him. And it's been between the injuries and some of the interceptions, it's been a little rocky this year. But again, I think lead the league in explosiveness. He runs the offense well when he's out there. I think overall there needs to be more consistency with some of the receivers and everything as well to kind of help each other out. And I think it all evens out eventually. But yeah, it's been a little rockier than you might hope this first half of the season.
Yeah.
That's kind of what we had mentioned about the Goff contract when it first happened too. Is like, just give it a couple months, give it one season, and then he'll be so far down the line that it won't seem like such a big contract anyway.
Right.
And it didn't take long for him to drop down. So
no, I kind of forgot that he got paid a whole lot of money, to be honest with you. Like that was like what, a year ago, 2 years ago. And there's been a whole, like so many bigger deals since then. Cause it was Tua and Love like in the same week, and then Dak signed, and they all just blow past me at a certain point.
They do. Yeah. They just pile up, and the way quarterback, I mean, it happens with every position. But quarterbacks, it's the next man up. He's gonna get paid market value, and I mean, as a team, you're kind of stuck. I mean, if you're in that position where, like, I think the Jaguars are kind of stuck. I mean, you're not going to move past Trevor Lawrence, but are you happy that you're paying him as much as you are, especially after getting 2 wins thus far in the season? I don't know.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, Jake.
Yeah, I wonder what that negotiation looks like. Because I mean, as a team, you're trying to figure out the value, and you're trying to talk them down. But I mean, their agent, they see what the top numbers are, and that's what they're shooting for. Reset the market every single time.
Yeah,
every single year.
Love's agent is just going like, you've got Sean Clifford. What's your other option? What do you like? If you don't pay Love, what are you going to do? Like, you have to give me money. You understand? Right. You're selling the fans on Sean Clifford, like 26-year-old second year Sean Clifford. That's what you're going to try to sell to your fans? Like they know what this is.
Yeah, I mean, Love did the sit out thing, and that didn't last. What that lasts like probably just a half a week, right? It was pretty much it
was a little man. It feels like it was 2 months because everyone was all up in arms over it. I mean, that's the thing. He was still in camp. He was there on the field. He wasn't in pads, but he's coaching everyone up. I think this feels like a lifetime ago at this point. I feel like it was probably a week and a half that he was out there without the deal. But it's kind of one of those like, we know this will get done. So it wasn't a ton of panic, but it took a little bit.
Yeah. Well, Love, like you said, Love had all the cards in that deal because, like you said, they have no backup plan. And that's his agent probably told him, just sit out for the week and you're going to get this huge contract.
Oh, and the reports kept coming in, and it was like Sean Clifford, 3 straight interceptions, Michael Pratt, 2 straight interceptions. Like, you just see that figure is going up and up every single practice, man. Get this deal done, man. You pay him $100 million a year. Let's go.
Nice.
All right. We're going to move on here. So when you look at the Lions, what concerns you most about them in the context of this game coming up?
Oh, man. I mean, I will say, I think it's different depending on the quarterback. I mean, I certainly will say, if it's Love, to your point earlier, I mean, I've had your hopes are my fears, right? Like, I think if Love, because he couldn't move hardly at all by the time they pulled him in Jacksonville. And I don't think he'd be that bad. But if he is slightly immobile, like he was at the beginning of the Jags game when he originally tweaked it, and he can't really move that much, I fear these safeties. Love's going to hang some. He will hang more of them if you can't move. And I'm concerned about Branch and Joseph back there, and Packers defense, Lions offense, the run game. I was a big David Montgomery fan, come out of the draft. I hated that he went to Detroit. It's like, that's such a good move, man. Like that line, what he is. I mean, his whole thing is like he doesn't get tackled, and now he's behind a very good line with a well-designed run game. That's going to be very good for them, and it is. So the Packers have been better. I think they're 12th in DVOA run defense when they've been traditionally bottom 5 under Joe Barry. So they've been pretty good run game. But that being said, more than I was just asked this question over on Pride of Detroit. I think it's Pride of Detroit. I think they're calling themselves still.
Yep.
And they asked who I feared more, Jahmyr Gibbs or David Montgomery. And like the threat of Gibbs breaking off like a 30-yard run is real, but the threat of David Montgomery gaining 6 yards every time he touches the ball is just such a terrible way to live. Like it just grinds you down. And so I think the run defense is good. Run defense is better than it's been for a while. A lot of those guys are bought in a way they haven't been for the Packers. But the Lions run game, I think concerns me, even if the Packers defense has been playing well. They've got such a good dynamic run game that can also just grind you to dust when they want to. And we've seen that. What was that game earlier this year when it was just, we're not going to pass the ball in the fourth quarter.
Well,
we're going to run. I think that was the
Rams,
overtime one, wasn't it?
That was the Rams overtime
Yeah.
game, the first game of the, they had wore the Rams. The Rams were undersized, and they just knew after the first. It
was that first snap of overtime.
Yeah.
It was like David Montgomery got 6 yards. No one wanted to tackle him. Like, okay, I know how this ends.
Yeah.
Like that's what concerns me, I think.
Yeah. I mean, that's what you're hoping as an offense, that you get to that point where in your fourth quarter, you've wore down the team and you have the battering ram that, because Dave Montgomery is going to take a 4-yard run, turn it into 7, 8, because he's going to, the first.
By the end of the game, he's turning it into 12.
Exactly. Because no one wants, they're tired of getting hit, so much. And then, then you could pull out the Gibbs card and he can run right past you. So you're right.
We have the rotation. They're still fresh in the fourth quarter, both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've had, each game we'll interview, someone from, another team, and everyone we ask, the run game is like inevitably what someone says that they fear the most. And, and it was Hutch for a little bit, depending on the team you were playing, Hutch, but now that, unfortunately went away, but, yep. So just like the Pride of Detroit boys, we want you to do a prediction about this game. Do something different than what you predicted with them, though. So it could be anything about this game. So predict something. We want to be different. So you go ahead and pick. It could be the score. It could be anything that you think about this game. You got anything that you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I had. I had for them. It was McKinney gets a pick, which not very creative because McKinney, that's all he does is get picks. I'm gonna do. Let's flip it around. I'm gonna do offensive side of the ball. I'm gonna go Christian Watson goes for 75 plus on a touchdown, which I don't think he's done so far this year. I don't care who's at quarterback. If that's Love, I think they're gonna feed him a bit. I think they're gonna try to hit some of those shots, kind of get Love out of there. Don't make him throw the ball 12 times in a drive. I think they're gonna try to maybe hit something big. And against Willis, they've been cooking stuff up to take shots. They had Reed last week hit on a big one. They've had Dobbs on some. I think this week could be Watson. So I'll give me a that's not a huge game, but that's a bigger game that Watson's had this year. So I think Watson has a nice game.
All right. Well, you don't need to be ashamed of that pick. That's good, man. You don't have to
pat me on the shoulder. Good job, buddy.
You don't have to be like Malik Wilson is going to throw for exactly 231 yards, and no, you don't have to do anything like that. That's cool. No, man, that's good. Dusty, you've been awesome. You lived up to what Jeremy said you were going to be. Great guest.
Thank you.
Before we got on, you said you're going to do the impossible. We're going to make you like you as a Packers fan. Yep. You could stand up there with Tom Grassi as the only two Packers fan that we could tolerate. But no, you've been great.
The plaque.
If you want to hear more, Dusty, tell them tell our listeners where they could find you at.
Yeah, most of my writing stuff's over at Acme Packing Company these days. I do a few pieces a week, film review, some number stuff, usually for the previous game. So that'll be up. I do a Wednesday pack a day. We usually do the Packers offense versus the opposing defense. So this week, this came out as we're recording this today, Wednesday. So we got Packers offense versus Lions defense. So we talk about that. And then I also do a show over on Cheesehead TV YouTube where I break down film with John Kuhn, former Packers fullback. And so I'm kind of all around the place, but generally my stuff is at Acme Packing. I picked up Colts stuff this year as well. So I'm over at Colts Wire. So I'm deep into the Anthony Richardson drama as it currently exists as well. So I'm just living life, man. I'm just all over the place.
Well, I'm glad you didn't tap out in the middle of this interview and said I need to tap out. That's good.
Came so close, man.
Oh man. Yeah, have you ever heard of anything so ridiculous? I
haven't, and then I watched the play. Like, he stiff arm a 350-pound man.
Yeah.
Ran like 80 yards and then got tackled awkwardly. Like, I would have been dead before that.
Yeah.
So, like, I know it plays different. I've never seen anything like that. I'm not going to blame a guy because it looked really tiring. It looked exhausting.
I'm sure it did, but man, I can't imagine a quarterback ever just tapping out. But I guess, it is what it is. So But Dusty, thanks for coming on. All right, welcome back. Hope you guys enjoyed that interview. I know it's difficult to like a Packers guy, but Dusty's cool in my book, so that was awesome. All right, Jacob, it's it. This is the time at hand. What are our keys to victory? I'm gonna let you start off here.
All right, I'm gonna start with the defensive key to victory. So Green Bay's red zone efficiency is at 50% right now. So they have 30 red zone opportunities, resulted in 15 touchdowns. We do have a top 10 red zone defense. So I think key to victory on defense is winning the battle in the red zone. They are going to be able to move the ball against us. They're going to have good drives where they get down to the red zone. Obviously, we hope that we limit those chances in total, but the red zone trips they do make, we've got to hold them to field goals. That's always a key to victory pretty much in any game, but I think more so in this game than others. It's probably going to be a close game. These opportunities are going to be huge. We got to stand tough in the red zone here. We're probably not going to score 50 points in this one. It would be awesome if we did, but points are going to be a little bit harder to come by, and, every drive is going to count. Every play is going to matter. It's a tough divisional matchup. Key to victory in the defense for me is just making sure that we make those stops in the red zone.
That's a good one. I agree with that. For me, this might go more if Jordan Love is the quarterback as opposed to Malik Willis, but just limit the big play. Make them, go down the field long way. I think we can make them make a mistake if we do that, especially Jordan Love. I think he gets impatient and wants a big play. Malik Willis, we heard from Dusty, they limit what he's going to do and then he's going to run. So that's going to be, as far as limiting the big play, limiting a big rush from Malik is going to be huge. So I just do what we've been doing and not give up a big play.
Definitely. That's a good one.
Yep. All right. I'll take the next one here. This is kind of a no-brainer, but we need to limit Josh Jacobs. He's averaging 4.6 yards per carry. If he gets that, then that's going to give the other team a lot of short second or short third down plays. I can't afford that. Then teams could do whatever they want with you. So stopping Josh Jacobs on first down, do not let him get a lot of yards. Make them pass it and make Jordan Love or Malik Willis make a mistake.
Definitely. Agreed. And about Josh Jacobs, he is fourth in the league in rushing yards. He's got 667 rushing yards right now, but he leads the league in carries. He's got 145 carries this year. They're going to run the ball. They're going to keep feeding him, and they're going to hope for these bigger plays. That helps out with his average when he's busting out, 15, 20-yard runs every so often. They're going to find holes. They're going to, attack that. We do have a very good run defense so far. I don't know that we've really played a team with this kind of rushing attack yet. So it's going to be a big test for us as well.
I expect him to get some rushing yards. I expect this to be a tough challenge. One thing that I will say when you a lot of the times teams attack the lines on the perimeter with the rushing game, majority of Josh Jacobs' rushes come interior. Their blocking scheme is really complex, and as Dusty said, they shift people around, they pull people, so we just have to be prepared for a complex blocking scheme. But if they're going to try to go out the front, out the middle, that means going through a lean and going through DJ Reader, which I like those,
Exactly.
I like those chances. So, if they have that plan to not go around the perimeter, then, DJ Reader, if he can't get the tackle, tie up those linemen enough for our linebackers to get in there and do their stuff.
Exactly. Be a huge game for Jack Campbell too. Anzalone. I mean, I'm excited to see, it's a real test. I just want to see, how well we perform.
Yep. Yeah. Malcolm did not practice today because of the ankle. I don't think he's going to play this week, which is a shame because this has been a good game for Malcolm. We need our linebackers, especially with Hutch being out. The linebackers are just super important right now for us.
Yeah, and Malcolm has stepped up. He's actually been playing at a very high level. I don't have it in front of me, but I think Pro Football Focus even has him rated, kind of high.
Yeah, they do.
Him and Campbell. I mean, every opportunity he gets, he does, he does what's asked of him. He knows his role. He knows the scheme. Like he is a valuable player.
Yes. Oh, for sure. I mean, the line, he's a starting caliber linebacker. I mean, he's just got more snaps now because Barnes is out, but he is a starting caliber linebacker. He doesn't have a lot of the physical traits that maybe you'd want,
Exactly.
like tight end speed.
That's
but
the limitations.
But his anticipation, his understanding of the play, his football IQ is up there, and so that makes him be able to play faster than his body would normally allow because he's in good position to make plays.
For sure.
Do you have any other keys to victory, Jacob?
Yeah, my offensive key to victory that I have in here is keep grinding. I know I mentioned it just a minute ago, but they have a top 10 rush defense right now. We have 2 of the top 10 running backs in the league. We're able to rotate them. They're able to stay fresh. I think it's going to be hard for them to stop our offense. We're going to be chipping away and wearing them down. Maybe we have a shootout on our hands. Maybe it's a little bit closer, but we just have to stay focused, keep doing our thing, week in and week out. That's what we've been doing. That's who we are. We're going to try to attack with a run game. I don't want us to come out forcing the pass and going back to back to back passing plays. We did that a couple times against the Titans, and it really did not work out for us early on. I think if we are going back to back passing plays in a row, I would like to see us mix in some more screens or just shorter route concepts to try to make it a little bit quicker, getting the ball out for Goff. Some of these, you're trying to let the plays develop downfield a little bit, and I think we didn't mix up those play calls very well. I don't know what happened with that last week. So they were just back to back. They were getting the pressure on Goff. So overall, I said before the season started, and I feel more confident actually now that our best beats them at their best. So, are we going to be able to play our best ball here in week 9? We've been on a roll. They're on a win streak too. It's going to be a great game. But I think if we keep grinding and keep doing our thing with the run, that we are going to be able to come out on top.
Yeah, great. My key to victory is go along that. Stay the course on offense. Run our offense the way we do, and limit turnovers. It's the Packers are lead the league in turnovers. We just they're safe. It's very similar to ours. Both teams have 10 interceptions. We're second to the Vikings with 12 interceptions. So, I mean, all these teams just prey on you making a mistake, especially the safety play. So, Goff, we're playing outside. We'll get into this a little bit later. The weather's might not be great on Saturdays or on Sunday. So we have to be careful about that. So just need to protect the football. Don't let them punch it out because Packers have recovered the most fumbles in the league out of everybody. So they are going to attack just like Branch and me punching the ball out. The Packers do the same thing. So I trust Demo and Gibbs to hold on to the ball, but it's going to be on our wide receivers to hold on to the ball too.
For sure.
All right. So a couple things that I found interesting that may or may not come into play here. If Jordan Love gets a start, he struggles against the blitz. He is 30th in the league with blitz compared to 3rd in the league passer rating wise when not blitz. So Jordan Love's in there. I expect us to blitz. The last 2 weeks without Hutch, the blitz numbers have drastically increased. To get any sort of pass rush, we've been blitzing a lot more. So I expect that to happen if Jordan Love's in. If Malik Willis is in, I'm not sure how they handle that because of the running and scrambling abilities that Malik has. Speaking of Malik Willis, he gets the ball out like a half a second faster than Love. And I think that has to do with what Dusty says, is that he's got 2 reads. If they're not there, then he's taking off. The other thing that I kind of alluded to in the keys to victory is the weather. It looks like it's going to be raining. This will be the Lions' first outdoor game. Goff traditionally may have not played his best football outside, so this will be interesting how this game goes. What do you think about the weather factor, Jacob?
I'm actually not as concerned about the weather just because of the way the run game has been. I think we rely heavily on them anyway to try to open up, other chances. Goff's been way more, careful of, taking shots and everything this year. He's protecting the ball a lot better. So I'm not as concerned about the weather. I don't think the game plan changes too much, regardless of whether it's raining or not.
Yeah, I don't think the game plan changes too much either, but the ball's slippery. You got 2 teams that like to punch the ball out. You could see a turnover becoming a factor, not just interception wise, but fumble wise.
Yeah, it could get weird. Multiple fumbles on each side.
I know. Then have a defender get it, and then someone punches out from the defender, and then get a double turnover on one play.
Okay,
a couple times. Yeah, that'd be funny. All right, we introduced this game last week. It's Demo and Gibbs. I believe you took David Montgomery. I took Gibbs, so obviously I won. So I get to pick this week. I'm going to pick Demo this time. I think this game is set up for Demo to have the advantage, especially if it's sloppy. He's going to just make people miss, and I'll take Demo.
I'm fine with that. Any given Sunday, man.
Oh, I know. I'd like to see Gibbs each week gets a longer run. It was 45 yards and then 70. So you're gonna get like an 80 or an 85 yarder this week.
There you go. All the way up to 99. Is that what we're saying?
Yep, all the way to 99.
Do you have it in front of you how many carries Gibbs and Montgomery both have this year?
Oh, I can get it. I got.
No, I've got it. I didn't know if you knew how close they were.
I don't.
Because they take turns on these drives and everything like that, just to keep each other fresh and everything. But if you had to guess, how many? What do you think the difference is in the amount of carries for both of them?
I think Montgomery's carried it like at least 10% more than Gibbs.
Right.
Yeah.
It feels that way. Yes. So Gibbs has carried the ball 92 times, and Demo's carried it 93.
Really?
Yes, they're that close.
Wow. I would have thought.
Gibbs does have 591 yards to Montgomery's 415.
Mm-hmm.
Demo's got 7 touchdowns. Gibbs has 6.
Yeah. I think they're both, if they stay healthy, they both get 1,000 this year. Having 2 backs with 1,000 yards each, especially in today's football, that's crazy. I mean, that would have been good back in the day, but man, in today's football, they have 2,000-yard backs. That'd be awesome.
Hey, they're trending that way. That's definitely attainable.
I agree. All right, let's get on to Grit Picks.
Grit Picks.
It's not too interesting with the picks last week, just because we picked all 3 the exact same.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday Night Football, Vikings at Rams. We both picked the Rams to beat the Vikings, and that was true. They did beat them. Sunday Night Football, Cowboys at 49ers. We both picked the Cowboys in this one. The Cowboys came out flat, tried to come back at the end. They were not able to do it, and the 49ers won. And then Giants versus Steelers in Pittsburgh. We both picked the Steelers. The Steelers did handle the Giants pretty well there. Entertaining football games, though, for the primetime games for the most part. Did you get a chance to watch most of them?
Yeah, I watched. We were recording during the Giants Steelers, so I got to see a little bit of here and there. Cowboys, 49ers, yes. And then, I was glued for the Vikings Rams just because of the divisional thing. And, both the Vikings and the Cowboys caught the Honolulu flu, as they're calling it now. I don't know if you've seen that name, Jacob.
Yeah.
Every team that's played the Lions. They've, lost the following week this season, and the Cowboys even had a bye week in between, and they still lost their very
Right.
next.
I don't know if that counts for the bye, but hey, we'll still take it.
I'll take it.
We'll beat them so bad they needed 2 weeks to recover.
That's right. Yeah. And well, we did beat them so bad. I mean, we killed them. We'll see. So, yeah. So as of right now, Jacob is 16-7. I'm 13-10. So still 3 behind.
Still close.
We'll see if we pick different teams now. So week 9, coming up here, Thursday night football. We're recording this on Wednesday night. So tomorrow's game, Texans at Jets. You want to go or you want me to go?
I can go first.
All right.
Texans at Jets. They're in New York. The Jets are favored by 2 points in this one. Really close point spread. The Texans receiver room has really been affected by injuries. The Jets are also tanking hard, and they desperately need a win in this game. I actually think this is probably going to be pretty entertaining, but I want and believe that the Texans are going to beat the Jets in this one. I would really like for Houston to beat them.
I'm going with the Jets. I'm not rooting for Aaron Rodgers at any point in my life, but yeah, we're starting out opposites. I'm going with the Jets in this one. They got to pull one of these out, I think. So I'm gonna go this.
I think it's over. I think it's already too. We talked about before they even got Devontae. I didn't think the locker room was going to take very well to Aaron Rodgers in the way that he was being public with the media. The coach, Robert Sala's gone. Then they get Devontae Adams, and then there's rumors that, well, there wasn't even rumors. I guess it's true that Mike Williams was on the trade block instantly. But then there's rumors that they were possibly fielding calls about Garrett Wilson. That's ridiculous. I think they've lost the locker room, and really, they're 2-6 right now, right? I mean, it only takes one more loss for them to just, their best players are going to be giving up and trying to take care of their bodies for next year.
So, is Aaron Rodgers the Vikings quarterback next year? Does he go that route?
Following the Brett Favre, yeah.
All right.
I would take that.
Yeah. Sunday Night Football, Colts at Vikings. They moved this game. This game got right. It got flexed into this spot, right? The Colts versus Vikings. I'm pretty sure it did. They could have flexed the Packers-Lions game into this one. This seems like that would have been a.
I didn't see that this one got flexed. At what point did this get flexed?
I'm almost positive this game was flexed, but could be.
Yeah, wrong. As of October 21st, it says they flexed it to the Sunday night.
Yeah, they flex this one.
Stupid.
So I don't know if Fox gets like a veto over that. Like they get to hold one game back and they can't flex that. But how did the Packers, Lambeau Field, Sunday Night Football? It seems like a no-brainer to me. But anyways, Colts Vikings. This is the game we're talking about. I'm up, so I say the Vikings get back on their winning track and they win this one.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, Vikings favored by 5 points. Anthony Richardson's taking a lot of heat right now for coming out of that last game. I don't like the move that they're pulling him right now and starting Flacco. I know that Anthony Richardson hasn't been playing very well, but I also know that he also was not a very effective passer in college. So anyone that watched him in college, it's not surprising that he's been struggling starting off this way now. I mean, essentially, you have Hendon Hooker, I would say he's about equal to Hendon Hooker, and they've thrust him into this starting role and put so much more responsibility on him right now. He missed time last year. He's a project. They should be seeing what they have in him right now, and instead it seems like they're going Flacco on the off chance that they're going to be competing for a playoff spot. I mean, Flacco shown that he can take a team to the playoffs. I don't know if they can make much noise there.
I don't know. He started 13 games in college, brought up, and then you instantly make him a starter. At some point, you got, Patrick Mahomes set out for a whole year, and I think that helped him. And this rush to start these quarterbacks, I think can be detrimental depending on the makeup of the quarterback. So it's always interesting how these things shake out. But yeah, someone a starting quarterback pulling themselves out of a game, unheard of. It's crazy. All right, Monday Night Football, Bucks.
Real quick before we get off, were you surprised by the line? Like in my opinion, I'm surprised that the Vikings were only favored by 5 at home. I just figured that they would probably be like maybe 6.5, 7.5. I
I
thought
don't
they'd be
know.
favored by more.
Actually, I don't know if the Flacco thing. I think they actually play better with Flacco at quarterback, and the Vikings have lost the last 2. So, I mean, I kind of get it. I don't know. I don't know. Well, you get 3 for being just a home, so they're just thinking they're 2 extra points. But I think actually the Flacco
That's
news
pretty
makes them a
close,
better.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So now I'm not overly surprised by that. I think I don't know. We'll see. All right, Bucks Chiefs. Who you got in this one?
You know, Godwin and Evans both hurt. I don't see how the Bucks can really be effective without having those guys. This is going to be a huge test for them. The Chiefs are undefeated right now. They're making moves. You know, they traded for edge rusher Josh Uche, who we thought might be on the Lions and is not. I have the Chiefs winning this game and keeping the ball rolling. It'd
I'm
be
with
nice
you.
to see the Bucks upset them, but the Chiefs are favored by 8.5 right now, and I think they're going to win pretty easily.
Yeah, I think that the Bucks are just injury riddled. It's going to be tough, and you might see Baker Mayfield popping a few more nicotine pouches in his mouth because he's getting beat up. So,
Yeah.
so, but yeah, I'm going with the Chiefs in this one. So we only differ. I can only gain 1 game on you, or you can only gain 1 game on me this week. But
Right.
all right, let's go on before we get out of here. Let's do the grit guarantee.
It's time for the Grit Guarantee.
My grit guarantee this week is that we are going to win the turnover battle.
Okay.
So I'm not sure, not guaranteeing or saying by how much or how many turnovers, depending on the weather and everything like that. But I'm just going to say that we come out ahead of the turnover battle.
All right. Well, mine is turnover related, but mine is I think there's going to be 3 or more turnovers in this game. I think there's going to be a lot of turnovers.
Okay. We both want turnover.
But yeah, just the weather and just these are ball hawking safeties. So I think that we're gonna see some turnovers. So 3 or more in this one. So we'll see. My grit guarantee from last week, we still don't know because as of right now, we have not made a trade. Hopefully that
How long do we have to keep this thing going?
I know, exactly. Well,
Technically, we said a week. It's been a week.
no, I said the week after the game. I got all the way up until Sunday. But if they don't make it by tomorrow, it's probably not going to happen. So before we head out of here, I want to give a shout out. We asked last week for some feedback. It actually happened today while we were recording this podcast. I just happened to see it. So I want to give a shout out to UP Dan. He says, "Hey, I appreciate your podcast. Just wanted to comment that my biggest concern right now isn't a Hutch replacement. It's Decker giving up really bad sacks 2 weeks in a row. Goff is going to get hurt if we can't get his game straight. Anyways, thanks for putting the podcast out." So that's UP Dan from Houghton, Michigan. What's your thought on the whole Decker situation? You want to comment on that?
Oh, well, I mean, I guess he has valid concern. He did get beat a couple times that Tennessee game. His Pro Football Focus rating, he's ranked 47th in the league right now in his pass blocking. So he has been kind of up and down. I don't know if he's just dealing with injuries or what really could be the case right now. I'm not worried about Decker. He's a veteran on the team. I think he's going to get it together. He's going to be able to withstand. Are you concerned so far?
I don't like it.
Right.
But I'm not like overly concerned about it. Well, we'll see. I mean, Goff's been lucky. He's fumbled a few times and just, it's fell right to him.
Right.
So I mean, that would be a bigger deal if he's fumbling and we're giving the ball up. So that's my concern is that, that those sacks will turn into turnovers. Our offense is so good that, even if we don't get it on, we get sacked out of a drive or whatever, or, I still feel we're going to score. Didn't like how the Titans game started out because those 2 sacks right in a row, that was till we got out of hand. I was like, I don't like how this game is starting. So I don't really like that aspect, but I'm not overly worried about it. Taylor Decker is a good veteran. I know he's going to put in hard work. He'll right the ship. I'm not worried about that.
For sure. He's
But-
allowed 5 sacks and 15 pressures. So, I mean, that's more than we're accustomed to. That's way more than we would like, but
Yeah.
I think we'll be okay.
No, I think we will too. It's a valid concern though, and thanks to you, P. Dan. He's a little more worried about that than the Hutch injury. So man,
I don't know. I don't know that I worry about that more than the Hutch injury, but they're both cause for concern, I would say.
Well, I think from this point, if you do the forward looking only, the Hutch injury you can't do anything about it. Whereas the Decker thing, yeah, that's a constant thing that's happening. Yeah, I guess we could be worried about that, but we'll see. I expect Decker is going to put his work in. He's going to do his job. So I'm not, we'll get it worked out. And if not, then we start chipping and helping out on that side and doing what we need to do. All right, Jacob, you're feeling better. So that's good. We don't know if the stone's passed, but we're feeling better. So that's good.
All right.
You're not
Much better than the last time we recorded.
Yeah, you're not a zombie this podcast. You're feeling a lot better. So felt so bad for you after we got done recording because I was like, oh man, he is just out of it.
It was a struggle,
It was.
but I made it.
You did. Appreciate your diligence and help and doing this thing. So, all right. I think we got one thing to say. Go Lions.